This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. All right. So yesterday we have looked at the business requirement document for a software application and what are all the different who are all the different users for that application, and so what are all the different purposes that for which they would be using the system. Now with regards to the same, so we would come up with the functional requirement for the application, the functional specification, which make things much more detailed. Now, when we talk about the Ranford Bank, so we talked about the various user groups, especially for the personal banking module. We have the users like the admin, so who would be responsible for creating the users, modifying the users, and deleting the user groups. And similarly, it's creating the branches, modifying the branches, and deleting the existing branches. So when we talk about the employee, so employee talks about customer registration, facilitating the payments and also the receipt by accepting the deposits. Now the next one is the customer. So customer would be the actual person who would be using the one of the end users and the major end users for whom the system is being developed. So for the customer, they would be using the system for a number of purposes. So it is for basically to uh, make the payments, to do the funds transfer, to make the utility bill payment, to transfer the funds within the bank and outside the bank, and also to check the account statement or to do the money orders and to raise any service request, and also the customer would be using the application. So that means that, so from the user perspective for the personal banking module, we had identified three people and their purposes of using the system. And on top of it, the business has come up with a requirement saying that the system should be up and running 24 by 7. So the user should be able to transfer the fund, the user should be able to check the account statement, the user should be able to make any utility bill payments and so on. So those are the business requirements um, that we have looked at in the BRD documentation. Now moving on to the functional requirement document for the same. So that means that our system should facilitate all these different user groups to be able to uh, do the transaction, to be able to do all the transactions that is mentioned earlier. So in order to start off with, so we have the Ranford Bank home page, which allows the different users, the customers, individual, corporate, and to log in and access the application for further usage. And also it provides the information about various services offered by the Ranford Bank and access the application for further usage. And also it provides the information about various services offered by the Ranford Bank. So the Ranford Bank allows the different user groups to be able to log into the system and access the application. Now, if you look at the Ranford Bank home page, so this is how it is going to look like once we launch the application. So, what all things that we have here? We have the logo and we have the name, and so we have the Ranford Bank logo and home, like personal banking, corporate banking, international banking, and about us, personal, corporate, and international banking. All these are the buttons that you have on the screen. All these are the buttons you have on the screen. So then you have a drop down list for branch banker to login, branch name and username and password and so on. So then you have a number of links that you have here: customer service, internet banking refugees, privacy, terms and conditions, disclaimer, and sitemap. These are all the various things, and all the text related to the bank. like the information about the bank and a specific news that you want to highlight here. So all these things that are there on the home page, we are defining all these things on the home page screen of the Ranford Bank. So then what are the page elements that we have? So the page element, as we discussed, we have the home, personal banking, corporate banking, international banking, and about us. All those are the buttons. So when there is a button, so the user should be able to click on the button. The behavior should be as per the task flow diagram. As per the task flow diagram. So the customer login. So under customer login, you have personal, corporate, and international login, and all these are buttons. And the like workflow is defined as per the task flow diagram. So banker, branch name, username, password, and so on. The user information links, customer service, internet banking, FAQs, privacy, terms and conditions, disclaimer, sitemap, and news. So which are all the links. The user can click on any of the links, and the behavior is as per the task flow diagram. So news is basically a scrolling text. Now, when we talk about the input validation and other state, so the user should be able to use the system effectively once they log into the system. So what are the validations here? The username and password are the validations. That means in order for the user to be able to use the system for whatever the purposes that we mentioned earlier, the user should be able to enter the username and the password. So the username and password is validated by the system. If it is correct data, then only they will be able to access the system. Enter a valid username, enter a valid password. If the user is entering invalid username, so it will give a error message. Coming to the task flow diagram, so we are looking at from the perspective of visitor. Who is a visitor? Visitor is someone who who is not having access to the who is not having a bank account or who doesn't have the access to the system, authenticated access. So what they can do, they can click on the links and navigate to the respective pages, but they can't log into the system. So if you talk about the visitor here, so the visitor enters valid URL, system displays home page of the Ranford Bank. There they can see a number of buttons here: home, personal banking, corporate banking, international banking, and about us. And all these are the customer service links. Customer service, internet banking, FAQs, terms and conditions, privacy, disclaimer, and sidebar. So when you talk about the home page, so the user would click on the home page, system displays the home page of the Ranford Bank. The personal banking system displays information about personal banking, and the corporate banking system displays information about corporate banking. Clicks on international banking system displays information about international banking. That means it just navigate to the respective page. There also we are not logged into the system. It is just that it will navigate and showcase that what is there in the international banking page, what is there in the corporate banking page, and so on. So in the similar sense, you have the customer service, internet banking, FAQs, privacy, terms and conditions, disclaimer, and sitemap. So for the admin flow, so there will be a different URL for the admin user. System displays the login page for the admin user. So they enter the valid username and password and click on login button. The system displays the admin module. Because admin is a internal user for the system and a backend user, so they'll be having a different URL. And with that URL, they'll be able to log into the system when they are in the bank network. So customer flow for personal, corporate, and international banking services. And customers are categorized into three categories: personal banking customer, corporate banking customer, and international banking customers. So system displays home page with the Ranford Bank, and you have personal banking, corporate banking, and international banking. System displays the login page for the personal, corporate, and international banking respectively. So coming to the banker flow for personal banking module, so what does banker should be able to do? So system displays the login page for the banker, selects the branch, enter a valid username and password, and click on login, and system displays the banker module. So that means that for the banker user, so they should be able to select the branch, they should be able to enter the username and password. The system displays the banker module. So coming to the functional requirement, I mean the use cases, but the use cases here are not very detailed. The reason being, it is just the workflow in terms of the clicking on the button, not specific to any specific functionality. Now, actor enters valid URL. The system displays the home page with the login facility. Actor clicks on home. The system displays home page with the login facility. Clicks on personal banking. So it takes us to the personal banking page. Clicks on corporate banking. The system displays the information about corporate banking, international banking, etc. Now, admin process flow in the home page. Actor enters valid URL, which works when we are in the bank network. System displays the home page with the login facility. The home page with the login facility. Actor enters valid username, system will accept. Actor enters valid password, the system will accept. Actor clicks on login, the system displays the admin module. System displays the admin module. So it would be displaying the admin module. Similarly, for customer, you have personal banking customer, corporate banking customer, and international banking customer. Accordingly, the system would navigate to the respective pages. Now, the banker flow in the home page, banker should be able to like select the branch, select the username, password, and clicks on login. So that's how each of the user group would be able to use the system in order to log into their home pages. Is that clear so far?
Yes.
Right. So moving on to the admin home page. Now in this thing, we are talking about the admin. We are talking about the admin user. So the admin user would be using the system. So this page allows the administrator to define and manage master data such as branches, roles, users, and employees related to Ranford Bank. This page allows the administrator to define and manage master data such as branches, roles, users, and employees related to the Ranford Bank. So now when we talk about the admin homepage UI, so admin is responsible for the home, change password. So this is the admin homepage. So that means that the moment they log into the system, this is the home page that they are going to look at. So if you look at here, for admin, we are giving branches, roles, users, and employees button. So that means that the database admin should be able to manipulate with the branches, roles, users, and employees. Manipulate in the sense they can add, they can modify, or they can delete an existing details of the branches, roles, users, and employees. On the other hand, you have the home, change password, and logout. These are all the various buttons: home, change password, and the logout. So now, when we talk about the page elements here, the branches is a button. The user can click on it. Roles is a button. The user can click on it. Users is a button. The user can click on it. Employees is a button. User can click on it. And home, change password, and logout. All these are the buttons. The user can click on it. So as per the task flow diagrams, which we can see in later pages. So coming to the input validations and error states. So the user is already logged in and there are no other validation here. So the validation will happen when we are trying to enter some data. The system needs to validate. When we are trying to submit a form, the system needs to validate. So here we are not entering any data. We are not logging into the system. So that's where the system related validations will not be there. So the input validations and other state which are not applicable here. So coming to the admin task flow diagram here, so admin should be responsible. Admin is responsible of the branches, roles, users, and employees. Home, change password, logout. All these are the various buttons we have. System displays the branch details page. Just give me a moment, please. Okay, so the system displays the branch details page, and when we talk about the roles, the system displays the role details page, users the user details page, and employees system displays the employee details page. Home, change password, and logout. So logout from the system and displays the Ramp Bank homepage. Displays the Ramp Bank homepage. So functional requirements for the admin module, the user actor clicks on branches, roles, users, and employees. So obviously, it should show the branches that are existing, the roles that are existing, users that are existing in the system already. And actor clicks on home, system displays the admin home page. Actor clicks on change password, the system displays change password page. Actor clicks on logout, the current session will be closed, and system displays the Ramford Bank home page. Now branches. So coming to the branches, so that means that as we discussed in the business requirement document, the admin user should be able to create the branches, should be able to modify the branches, should be able to delete the branches. So now if you talk about branches feature allows the administrator to define a new branch, modify or delete any Ramford Bank branches, and also admin can search for branches information based on given selection criteria. Based on given selection criteria. So now if you talk about branches, so you have the page where you have the country, state, city, all those are the drop down list. The moment the user clicks on the branches here, the moment the user clicks on the branches here, so you have the branch ID, branch name, address, area, city, state, edit option and delete option. And with the country drop down, state drop down and city, and a search button and a clear button. And also you see that there is a new branch option, there is an edit option, and there is an delete option. Why I'm highlighting these things? Because in the BRD business requirement, under business requirement, what we have defined, we have defined such a way that the admin user should be able to create the branches, should be able to modify the existing branch, should be able to delete the branches, create the branches, modify an existing branch, delete an existing branch. So obviously, you have all the required buttons to do these transactions. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So obviously, based on the purposes of each user who would be using the system, we need to define the system such that they should be able to, once the application is given to them, they should be able to access the application for all the different purposes. Now, coming to the page elements here, you have the country, state, city, search button, clear button, new branch button, all these are the buttons. And list box, the user can select the drop down list, country, state is a drop down list, and city is a drop down list. Search is a button, clear is a button, new branch is a button. Under the branch details table, so you have the branch ID and you have the branch name, address, area, city, state, edit and delete. So all these are the like tab elements. So that means that here you cannot change the branch ID or branch name, address, area, city. You cannot change any of these things. Input validations and the states which are not applicable. So here we are not doing anything with the system or we are not entering any data. So just that we are in the read-only format, we are looking at the details. So task flow diagram for search and clear, user selects the country, system displays country within the selected country, drop down list. The user can select the state, select the city, click on search, system displays the branches based on the selection criteria. Click on clear, system clears the selected criteria and displays all the branch details. Admin flow for search and clear, actor logs in, system displays the admin module, actor clicks on the branches, system displays the branch details page, Actor selects the required criteria of country, state, city, and clicks on search. The system displays only the branches matching the selected criteria. Actor clicks on clear. System clears the given search criteria, and all the branches will be displayed. And all the branches will be displayed the moment they click on clear. So that way, when we talk about the admin flow for search and clear, so you should be able to do all these things on the like search and clear options. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, so new branch creation. So in order to create a new branch, you have a button there. This feature allows admin to create a new branch for the Radford one. The moment they click on new branch, the new branch UI screen would look like this. The branch name, address 1, address 2, address 3, area, zip code, country, state, city. And a submit button, reset button, a cancel button. And you have all these the previous buttons and logout, change password, and home page. So what are the mandatory fields are there? So you have the asterisk here, which says these are the mandatory fields. So the page element, so which are already defined as defined for the previous diagrams. Now input validations and error states. So this is another important thing. Since we are asking the user to enter the data, the user here is admin user. So the user may enter any data, but the data should have some validations. So only if the data is valid, the user should be able to submit the information. So who has to define valid data or invalid data? So BA need to talk to the business people and understand what is a valid information and what is a invalid information. So for example, branch name should be alphanumeric only. If someone puts only the numbers, it should reject. So it should be alphanumeric and start with the alphabet, minimum of 6 characters and maximum of 40. And it is a mandatory field. It's a mandatory field, without which you cannot submit the new branch request application form. If it is blank, please fill in the following details, the branch name. If it is if you are entering, this field should be alphanumeric and starts with the alphabet. It starts with the alphabet, so clearly saying that it should start with the alphabet. And invalid range, if you are trying to enter less than 6 and greater than 40, the system should throw the error message as invalid range. So if you are trying to enter the same duplicate information, the system has to throw the duplicate error message. So that way the branch name should be giving error message. So as and when we see these details like this. So coming to address 1, alphanumeric and special characters, mandatory field, minimum of 4 characters, maximum of 50 characters, and blank, please fill in the following field, address 1. Invalid range, this field should be within 4 to 50 characters range. Address 2, alphanumeric and special characters, maximum of 50. This field is accepts a maximum of 50 characters, etc. So that's when, whenever we are asking the user to enter the data, so that means that once the system is released to the customer, so they would be using the system to enter the data. We are asking them to enter the data. We should basically make sure that all the validations are in place. So if the validations are not there, the user will enter some data. The system will accept, so it may not be a valid data or valid format. So that's why we need to define the valid information here. And need to make sure all the validations are something like the controls are in place. Only the valid data or the valid format data that should get into the system. So actor logs into the system, clicks on the branches, click on new branch record, enter branch details, click on submit. If the data is valid, yes, new branch will be created successfully. If not valid, ask for the valid or the missing data. Ask for the valid or the missing data. Click on reset, all the data would be cleared. Click on cancel, close the page and go back to the previous page. close the page and go back to the previous page. So that way the actor should be able to log in, click on branches, click on new branch record and branch details and so on. So coming to the use cases, the actor logs in, system displays admin module, actor selects the branches, system displays the branch details page, actor clicks on new branch, system displays new branch entry page, actor enters the necessary fields with valid data and clicks on submit. System displays a message saying that new branch created successfully with branch ID with OK button. Actor enters necessary fields with valid data and clicks on reset. The system clears all the fields. Actor enters necessary fields with valid data or without entering any fields. Click on cancel. The system closes the new branch entry page and displays the branch details page. So that's about creating the new branches. And coming to the branch updation, this feature allows admin to modify the details of the Radford Bank. So modify the details of the Radford Bank branch. Now you have here, so obviously, so on the previous page, you have an option to edit a branch information. The moment you click on edit, so the edit screen will open. So where the user can edit the details. The user should be able to edit the details. So this is the edit screen. But the branch ID cannot be edited. The reason being, it is generated by the system. You cannot edit this information. That is why it's grayed out. Any other fields you should be able to edit, and accordingly the zip code and states, country, city, so that will be updated. You have an update button and you have a cancel button here. So the different element branch ID auto display, users action is not applicable, system response is not applicable. Branch name, address 1, address 2, address 3, area, zip code, country, state, city. All these are the text box. The user can enter the data, the system should accept. Input validations are referred to 3.2.3, so which means that the previous validations are sensible. The same validations applies here. All these validations apply when you are trying to modify the data. Obviously, these are the same fields. If you are trying to change, these validations will make the same. So these validations are applicable. So when you are trying to modify the data, that is why refer to section 3.2.3, which has all the input validations. Now, after logs into the system, clicks on the branches, select the required branch record, update the branch details, click on update. If the data is valid, yes, the branch details will be updated successfully. If not, ask for the missing or the valid data. And click on cancel, the page will be closed and it goes back to the previous page. So admin home page for modification of the branch, for modifying an existing branch. Actor logs in, system displays admin module. Actor selects the branches, system displays the branch details page. Actor clicks on edit for any branch, system displays the branch updation page. Actor modify necessary fields with valid data and click on update. The system displays a message, branch details are updated successfully. Actor modifies necessary fields with valid data or without modifying any field. Click on cancel. The system closes the branch updation page and displays the branch details page. Is that clear? Any questions?
No.
So coming to branch deletion, this feature is useful for the admin to delete an unwanted Ramford Bank branch. So where after logs in branches, select the required branch record, click on delete, select OK or cancel to confirm. If OK, it will check if there are any dependencies. Of this information on any other branch. If you try to delete a regional branch, just give me a moment, please. Sorry for that. Yeah. So coming to the branch deletion, as we discussed the branch deletion. Yeah. So this feature is useful for the admin to delete an unwanted Ranford Bank branch. So when we talk about the Ranford Bank branch, so here the actor logs in branches, select the branch record, and we have a cross um, image. So if you see for every branch, you have this particular image. So the moment you click on this image, so what will happen? So that will try to delete the existing branch. For example, you are trying to delete a regional branch. Under a regional branch, there are a number of local branches. For example, you're trying to delete this one. You cannot delete until you delete all the child branches. So that means the information is shared or there is a dependency. So that's where you cannot delete this one until you delete all these branches. So it will check if there are any dependencies. If yes, so then it will give you a message saying that the records are deleted. Sorry, the records are shared, cannot be deleted. Records are shared, cannot be deleted. And if there are no dependencies, so the records will be deleted successfully. If there are no any other dependencies, you can see that the records can be deleted successfully. So that way, if cancel, if the user clicks on cancel, it goes to the branch details page, that is the previous page. So for admin flow for deletion of a branch, actor logs in, system displays the admin module, actor selects the branches or branch, system displays the branch details page, actor clicks on delete for any branch, system displays a confirmation. Are you sure you want to delete this record with OK or cancel button? Actor clicks on OK, system deletes selected branch if there is no dependency and displays branch deleted successfully message. If the dependency exists, system will not allow to delete any and displays a message, a shared record cannot be deleted. If there is a dependency, it will give a message saying that it's a shared record cannot be deleted. Actor clicks on cancel, system closes the branch deletion page and displays the branch details page and displays the branch details page. So that way, so if you look at the admin flow for the deletion of a branch, you should be able to do any of these things. Sure. So you should be able to follow these steps to delete the existing branch. Is that clear? Any questions so far?
No.
Others? Is that clear?
No. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in a similar sense, if you go to the roles, that admin should be able to manage the roles. So if you go to click on roles, the system should be responding by giving the role ID, role name, role description, and any other details around the role. And you have edit option, delete option, and a new role button. They should be able to create a new role, should be edit the existing role, and delete the existing role. So that way, if you go further, role creation, role modification, and role deletion, again the similar kind of validation that you will have, and the system has to be validated when we are creating a role, updating the role, and deleting the role for the particular fields. So you can probably go through the rest of the thing, and so it is there only for the admin user. And think about like you have the you being the you having the bank account, so it would be easy for us to look at the existing bank account and open the internet banking system and log into the system and see all the different options, how the screens are looking like, and what are the details that are showing up there. And as per our understanding, what details should be there and what are the details that are showing up there. So that way you can understand from the user perspective. In a similar sense, for employee also, so the customer registration form that should be that should be visible, so that whatever customer details are there, name, address, phone number, city, and type of account, and then like the other details like the premier customer or like whatever, the regular customer and all that details the employee should be able to enter and submit the application form. Similarly, when there is a deposit or when there is a withdrawal, so what kind of request the screen should be like having the drop down list. Is it a cash deposit or check deposit or TD deposit, and the account number in which it is deposited. So all the details need to be entered, and the moment they click on submit, there should be counter slip that should be generated. It says that like the transaction is done successfully, and the employee has to sign that and provide to the customer. Similar way, like if you think about it, so you should be able to understand how the screen would be looking like and what are the details that needs to be added to that particular screen in order to be able to complete the transaction. Is that clear? All right, so with this, I am going to stop here for today. So in the next session, so that's going to be our final session, we'll be talking about few things like which are one, we will talk about the certifications for the BA role. Majorly, we'll talk about this one. Certifications for the BA, the various famous certifications, and then we will talk about the resume preparation part, preparation guidelines, and finally, we'll talk about the model interview questions. This would be our agenda for the next session. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Kiran. Bye.
Bye.